Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Danthuluri. I go by Dr. D, and I'm a proud member of the Beltline Health Bariatric Surgical Group. I'm coming at you from Atlanta, Georgia to talk about a common question we get in the clinic, which is, Doctor, how come I can't lose weight? Um, the reason is explained by an overarching principle that we're learning more about as scientists, which is called metabolic adaptation. The way I tend to describe this in clinic is as follows. Basically, over the years, and imagine this, not long ago when we were a little more primitive and we had to work hard to go find or hunt our calories to survive, our intestines could not afford to be inefficient in any way. So much like all of our organ systems in our body, our heart being our cardiac system, our lungs forming our pulmonary system, our gastrointestinal system also is extremely efficient with a lot of redundancies built in. So what that means is, as you're sitting here watching, and most adults, we have 16 to 20 feet of small intestine combined with our stomach that can basically absorb every macronutrient out of everything you put in your mouth. Um, and again, not long ago when we were primitive and it was hard to come by calories, that intestine could not afford to miss a single drop of calories out of what we're eating, right? So keep that in mind. You have about 16 to 20 feet of intestine to very efficiently process calories. Over the years, the intestine didn't get smart and say, well, now we have dense calories lining our shelves, so I can afford to be a little less efficient so we can maintain a normal weight. No, the body's just doing what it evolved to do, extracting calories from what you eat. Doesn't care what you eat. The second part of this is is that the guts themselves aren't solely responsible for absorbing of just absorbing calories, I should say. The guts do something a lot more miraculous, which is they produce hormones and peptides and signaling proteins that go to our brain and communicate, and these two areas work together to do other things to help us keep the weight on. So I'm trying to show here in the picture that hormones and even nerve signals via some named major nerves in the body can relay signals up to the brain, and the brain and the intestines work in tandem together. Also in the brain, I want to highlight that there's two areas. One of the areas is called the hypothalamus. That's where kind of our chief operating system for our metabolism is housed. And this happens to live right next to the area where our addiction center is. Not just cocaine, nicotine, alcohol addiction, but also any component of food addiction also acts in this area. And all of these three systems are connected and very, very intricately intertwined. So the second part of why we fail to lose weight is that when you start to lose weight, you start to burn these calories that your body efficiently collected and put on your body. Your brain starts to send a signal out that, hey, hold on, I don't want you to lose weight. We got to hold on to this storage bank of energy for another period where it's going to be hard to go hunt and gather food. So again, this is an evolutionary mechanism designed to not only obtain those calories, but very, very, in a stingy way, hang on to those calories. So what happens is, for everyone, the set point can be slightly different. For most people, it's about 20, 30 pounds. For males, it tends to be slightly more than that, maybe 50, 60, 70 pounds. But the bottom line is this: you hit that certain threshold, let's say it's 30 pounds, and this adaptive mechanism kicks in. So what are some things that happen with metabolic adaptation? Number one, right when you're losing weight and you're feeling like, okay, this time I got it, I can burn this weight off, one thing our brain does is it decides to lower our metabolism down. By lowering the metabolism, you start to notice on the scale that your weight has now plateaued. You may try to double down and exercise harder, more frequently. You may decide to go into more extreme dieting practices like fasting, but you'll notice that that needle doesn't move much anymore. That's because your own body's metabolism is fighting your weight loss. It's trying to hang on to that weight. In addition to this, we start to find in a starved state that certain hormones start getting produced excessively. One of the hormones is our principal circulating hunger hormone called ghrelin. We know that when we're in a starved state or fasting or losing weight, that hunger hormone goes way up. And the body starts to make less and less of our satiety hormone called leptin. So hormonally, and you've probably experienced this, when you start to lose weight and approach a certain threshold, your hunger drive goes way up, your cravings go way up. And guess what's getting a knock on the door? That little addiction center that lives up there right close to that metabolic rate thermostat, if you will. So all of these things compound together to start to make you feel discouraged, and before you know it, you kind of fall off the diet wagon. You start eating more of what you're not supposed to, and you've probably experienced this too. After a period of losing weight, even though it took so much work to lose that weight, putting that weight back on, it's like no problem, right? That's because that metabolism stays low even as your intake and your weight start to go up. And typically it's not until you overshoot the weight you were at when you began your diet that your metabolism resets. So that's why the common pattern is a little bit of weight loss, a little overshoot. Little weight loss, little overshoot. And I'm going to show you a slide here to better explain. In this slide, I'm going to explain again now graphically that weight gain pattern that I was talking about on the previous slide. So I hope you find this a kind of better, more clear way to look at this. Over here on the left, let me use my laser, is on the y-axis is weight, on the x-axis is time. So generally, let's just say time 0 starts here. Over our lifetime, we gain weight appropriately while we're growing, developing, becoming adults. Totally normal to gain weight, right? But at some point, we reach and exceed our ideal body weight for our final height. Let's just say that that's right here. From there, once we've overshot our weight, and by the way, if we could all go back in time and do it differently and really thinking forward to the next generation and generations beyond, assuming we always have the vast access to densely packaged calories that we have now, what we really need to be thinking about as a race, as humans, is better education on how to eat and how to maintain a weight rather than practices of trying to catch up afterwards. Because as I've pointed out so far, we have remarkable mechanisms to absorb calories and pack them on our body and keep them and hang on to them. So if we could go back and not gain the weight, then we'd be in an ideal situation, because losing the weight for 8 or 9 out of 10 of us, once your BMI is 35 or higher, that success rate of losing weight with diet and exercise and even combined medical weight loss with a doctor and medications goes way down. It gets really tough to get back to that ideal weight. So ideally, we all stop and live kind of in this area. But as I was explaining, and I'm going to show you to you now, for whatever reason we exceed our ideal body weight. And again, here at Beltline, and me personally, I don't want anyone to think that this is an environment where you're going to experience any kind of weight bias or social stigmatized bias against you, because now we know the science, and I know that you care about your health and you've tried diet and exercise before, and you're coming here to watch this video or see us because you're kind of at your wit's end. And so I think it's important to realize that we here at Beltline know that you're not alone and that you've tried hard to lose weight, but now I hope you realize, and light bulbs are going off, that hey, there was something working against me. We do know a minority of patients out there, typically males, can kind of achieve an ideal body weight even after years of weight gain. So for the best way to think about it is we don't fully understand the body yet. We're still learning about new proteins and hormones. all the time, and for whatever reason, there are genetic, race, ethnicity factors that allow some people to lose a weight with diet and exercise, but the majority of us evolve these mechanisms where it's impossible. So we initiate a diet at this weight, indicated here, and that's shown with the green star, and then we lose weight, and then metabolic adaptation, MA, kicks in, and like I was saying, hunger hormones start to peak. You get a lot of cravings, that addiction center's going off and calling for that kind of carb load. You're craving sweets, and your metabolism is low, and that's when your weight starts to go back up. And as I said before, that metabolism stays low until you slightly overshoot your weight, and then you try diet again, same pattern, lose a little weight, metabolic adaptation kicks in, regain the weight. That metabolism doesn't pick up until you overshoot, try again, and then I want to put in a new factor here. This red star is going to indicate a super stressor. So sometimes in life a super stressor event can happen. If you're a female, it's going to be pregnancy. If you're a male or female, a job loss, a loss of a loved one. Something causes you to go above and beyond, and not to mention there's stress hormones that can cause us to gain weight too. A variety of factors cause us to experience this steep curve in weight gain. And let's just stick with the pregnancy analogy. And again, if you're like most women, let's say 8 out of 10 women will fail to get back to their pre-pregnancy weight because again, metabolic adaptation kicks in and keeps you from losing that weight. We all have that girlfriend that seems to be able to have 4 or 5 children and can stay pencil thin. Well, again, there's genetic factors at play, and of course, socioeconomic factors too. It's nice if you can have a nanny and then leave your kids and go get 1 or 2 hours of workout in 5 days a week, right? That doesn't hurt, but I don't want to downplay the fact that there's these mechanisms that keep us from losing weight. There's genetic factors. There's a lot of unknowns. But for right now, this is what we know about metabolic adaptation and how it affects the majority of people. So from there, weight gain continues. And so over a lifetime, let's just say on the x-axis here, we've made it to about 50 years or 45 years of life at this point. And we've tried various diets and exercises. We've had a few super stressor events. And generally speaking, our weight trend over our lifetime looks like this, and that's why currently in the United States our obesity rates exceed 35 or 40% in terms of the overall population. It's the general weight trend is positive, and it has something to do with this metabolic adaptation. Ideally, we don't find ourselves exceeding our ideal weight, but when it happens, believe me, the body is going to do what it can to be stingy with those calories. I hope this graph explained that clearly, and I hope you learned something today. I hope it was eye-opening, and I hope you can feel a little better about yourself, that it wasn't you, and it's not what, socially people might feel like if you're overweight and unhealthy, it's all your fault. We definitely don't think that here at Beltline. And at any point that you feel ready, we want to intervene and help you achieve your goals. In subsequent presentations, I want to show you how when diet exercise has failed and even medical weight loss has failed, as it commonly does once your BMI is over 35, especially over 40, how surgery can intervene in this metabolic adaptation process. So specific surgeries and how they affect your intestine and your stomach and the way hormones are released and things like this can directly influence and at least temporarily combat this metabolic adaptation principle and mechanism, and then allow you to shed that weight, like really exceed that weight loss. If your metabolic rate thermostat says, hey, after 30 pounds of weight loss, I'm dropping your metabolism to here, when we're done with surgery for the first time in your life in many years, the surgery influences that metabolic rate thermostat, and we reset it really high, like back in high school days. So As far as we know today, surgery is the only way to overcome this consistently and reproducibly, and to get you the results you want. I look forward to explaining how that works later, so stay tuned. I want to end by saying feel free to leave some comments and questions. We'll try to get to them as soon as we can as busy surgeons. But subscribe to our channel here, Beltline Bariatric, or my personal channel and the Instagram and Facebook pages at Dr. D Surgery. Again, we want you to choose us to begin your journey to weight loss and better health. And stay safe out there and be healthy. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.